Hi, this is Reapso Video, and I'm Theodore Ross, Editor-in-Chief of the Food and Environment Reporting Network, or FERN. I'm here in Park Slope, Brooklyn, where failure to compost is a felony. Not that there's anything wrong with that. My guest today is Bridget Huber. She's the reporter on the third episode of Buzzkill, FERN's podcast series on the pollinator crisis. She's also a former staff reporter for FERN, so I'm particularly glad to have her here today. Hi, Bridget. Welcome to Reapso.
Hey, Ted.
Now, Bridget, your episode is about a big topic, the impact of European colonialism on the land here in the United States. To report it, you visited the Iowa tribe of Kansas and Nebraska to see some of the innovative and deeply traditional farming practices they were using on their reservation. So tell me, Bridget, why this story?
So when we started to dig into the research for the whole series, one of the things that I found really interesting and important was that, a lot of the work to protect pollinators, to restore habitats, is actually being led by tribal nations or indigenous scientists. And I don't think that reality makes it into the narrative enough in stories that we may hear about these issues. So I wanted to make sure that was part of our series. So it was part of it. And then the other thing that I thought was important was, this crisis didn't come out of nowhere. It was not inevitable. And it was the product of, a worldview that came here with European settlers and colonialists, and colonization and westward expansion has had, a cascade of environmental effects that, have gotten us to the point that we are here. So I thought that it was important to kind of go, deep down to the root there and look at both the practices on the ground and also the sort of philosophical underpinnings, ideas about, humans' relationship with nature.
So what would you say was your biggest obstacle to reporting this story?
I think that often with stories that have to do with agriculture and land, timing can be very tricky. So, finding the right people who are doing the right thing, in the right place and are able to see you. I think that took a long time to figure that piece of it out. And then I think just it's a complex story. I think that it was a rich story. And so we struggled, I think, to figure out which piece of this to tell. And I think, I think that it took a lot of time, and there were things that couldn't make it into the story and voices that couldn't make it into the story, of course.
And so finally, what do you think the takeaway for this episode of the podcast should be? What do you want people to understand about it?
I think that for me, one of the important takeaways is, that this work is really happening in a major way in many tribal communities and being led by Indigenous scientists and Indigenous people. And I think that needs to be part of the narrative. I think the other thing is that this is a story about a group of farmers who were following, sort of commodity, sort of industrial model of farming and have decided to make some real changes. This is a process that many farmers are going through or could be going through. And I think that the story of sort of how and why that's happened and where things stand today is useful and interesting to anyone who cares about the food system and the environment and pollinators.
Well, thank you, Bridget. This is a really great episode of Buzzkill because it shows how the pollinator crisis is about more than just food or even agriculture. It's about society and how we live in the world. If you want to listen to it or the whole series, you can find it on Reapso or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to learn more about FERN's dispatches from the front lines of food, farming, and the environment, or if you want to donate to support our work, go to www.thefern.org. Thanks so much.